Oh, good morning. It's a beautiful morning here. I'm down in the southwest of England, and it's Tuesday, the 13th of March 2018. And the title of today's broadcast is Follow the Fracking Money. Although you may have some difficulty doing that because basically there is no money. And what is there is just numbers on a computer screen. It's not real. And the problem is that there's a minus sign in front of most of it anyway. So Third Energy have skulked away from Kirby Misperton with their tail between their legs because John Dewar and subsequently Alan Lynn failed abysmally to find any mug punter that was prepared to bail them out, to give them the financial wherewithal that they needed to frack at Kirby Misperton. And as I said yesterday, this is the community of North Yorkshire doing the job of the government, certainly Kevin Hollinsnake, the local MP, and indeed the Fraud and Economic Crime Office of North Yorkshire Police. And the good news is that by introducing people to the accounts of Third Energy, then we now have people who are scouring over the accounts of the other wannabe motherfrackers. Now, you know, Third Energy have said that they have all the necessary funding in place for its current operations, both onshore and offshore. They go on. As is normal in natural resources, including oil and gas, when moving into the development stage, companies look at different options for funding known developments, future exploration, and also further opportunities. Let me translate that for you, because that is PR speak. So let me put a very simple interpretation on that. Basically, it means we're skint. And not only are we skint, we can't actually find any other mug punter that's prepared to throw money at us, to literally pour money down a literal and metaphorical black hole. So nobody bailed out Third Energy. And Barclays Bank, of course, made it abundantly clear, because as I've reported previously, the final sentence in the somewhat late Third Energy account said, in the opinion of the directors, Barclays Bank are the ultimate decision maker regarding any financial decisions of Third Energy. So Barclays Bank made it very clear by putting another 5 million into the debt pool for Third Energy that they were only prepared to give them just enough money to effectively pay off their creditors for the hire of the equipment that was sitting on the well site at Kirby Misperton for the best part of 3 months. Now, of course, Greg Clark got himself off the hook by throwing in at the last minute the criteria of financial resilience. Now, financial resilience can mean a lot of things to a lot of different people. And every effort is being made, of course, to establish exactly what the terms of financial resilience really are. And of course, Greg Clark and the Department of Business, Energy and Infrastructure, when asked to provide this information, basically got his team to say, well, actually, you know, it's nothing to do with us. This is the responsibility of the Infrastructure and Projects Authority. So let's take a little look at the IPA. Some people know that as a beer, perhaps. But anyway, the Infrastructure and Projects Authority, headed up by a guy called Tony Meggs, who, what a shock. He's ex-BP and actually worked with BP up until about 2008. So he was at BP during the Lord John Browne regime, whose motto was profit above all else. In other words, maximising shareholder returns by doing whatever it took to push revenue to the bottom line as profit. And as we know, Lord John Browne's regime effectively meant cutting back on things like safety, on environmental protection and employee health. And his track record prior to his departure was somewhat unenviable, to say the least. Well, Tony Meggs, when he left BP, he was head of technology. And then subsequently, he worked for Talisman Energy and co-chaired the Massachusetts Institute of Technology study on the future of natural gas. Well, Tony Meggs was appointed as chief executive of the Major Projects Authority, working in the Cabinet Office in mid-2015, but then it was merged with the Treasury's Infrastructure UK body to form the Infrastructure and Projects Authority in January 2016. So he's been in that role now for a couple of years. Now this guy is very, very well rewarded. In fact, as of September 2015, his salary was in the range of £190,000 to £195,000 per annum. That's his salary. That's not including, of course, his pension benefits. So the guy is extremely well compensated for sitting at the head of the Infrastructure Projects Authority. So you would think that somebody of this caliber would be able to provide open information about the criteria that is going to be used to establish the financial resilience of these wannabe motherfrackers, none of whom seem to have anything that comes close to financial resilience. In fact, they are literally operating on a knife edge. But, the directors of these companies don't care because they are simply drawing their salary. So for them, it's a monthly income. And the longer they can blag, then the more they get their income. And then like John Doerr, when eventually they reach the end of the road, they ride off into the sunset. And it's like, bye guys. With no apology, of course, to the communities who they've caused enormous stress for, in the years running up to their departure. So the important thing now is to push those responsible for providing this information. And ultimately, who does Tony Meggs report to? Well, Tony Meggs has two bosses. He reports jointly to the Chancellor, which is Philip Hammond, who is MP for Runnymede and Weybridge, one of the highest dollar property zones in the southeast of England, and also to the Minister for the Cabinet Office, the Right Honourable David Lidington MP, who is MP for Aylesbury. So you notice that, there's no MP from the north of England, no MP from the sacrifice zone gets anywhere close to the decision-making process. It's all those in the south who basically anywhere north of Watford might as well be on another planet. So, this is the absurdity of the way in which this is unfolding right now. And no doubt because there's joint responsibility between Philip Hammond and David Lidington, they're hoping that they can just sort of go, well, no, it wasn't me, it was him. And of course, then you've got Greg Clark in the mix saying, well, nothing to do with me, it was down to Philip Hammond and David Lidington. And they're going, well, no, actually, we took our guidance and advice from Greg Clark. This is what is known as a bugger's muddle. And under normal circumstances, of course, no one cares. No one really gives a damn. I mean, up until yesterday, I'd never heard of Tony Meggs till I decided to take a look at who was responsible, for heading up the IPA. And these guys operate in absolute anonymity, and that's the way they like it, because then they can get away with stuff. They can do as they're told and draw their outrageous salary and live their nice lifestyle and, be head honcho down at the local lodge. And all you got to do is sell your soul and do as you're told by the corporate paymasters. So let's get on the case. The IPA, the Tony Meggs, the head, Philip Hammond, and David Lidington. And let's get our respective local MPs on their case to ask the right questions. I'm down here on the edge of South Hams in South Devon, and of course it's the local anti-fracking community here that have done such a tremendous job in getting the local MP, Sarah Wollaston, Dr. Sarah Wollaston, to ask some very pertinent and poignant questions of Claire Perry, who is the Minister of State for Business, Education and Infrastructure. And she effectively got Claire Perry to admit that the government currently has absolutely no idea how many supposed jobs this industry will create. Well, we know it ain't that many, if any at all. And they have no idea how much water is going to be used in the process. So they've no idea. They haven't done any study about the potential water stress in areas where, you know, there is already a high demand for water. And of course, over the last few days, you know, we've seen some of the problems that the elements can create with people having to get bottled water delivered by the water authority because pipes froze up. And they have no idea how much waste is going to produce from the wells, or where that waste is going to be treated, or how it's going to be treated. So, you know, the bottom line is all of this would, under normal circumstances, be going on under the radar while everybody else goes about their normal day-to-day business of you know, trying to keep a roof over their head and food on the table for their family. But you know, obviously I think more and more people are realizing that if you do that, then basically you are condemning future generations to something that is, you know, just unimaginable. So meanwhile, elsewhere, of course, we have Quadrilla. Well, this is British Gas, of course. It's British Gas trading as Quadrilla. And, you know, for the people of Lancashire, you're really behind the 8 ball right now because, you know, Lancashire and certain Preston New Road right now looks like it's going to be the only site that is at risk of being fracked in 2018. There are still some others that are ongoing. Obviously, iGas in North Nottinghamshire, Third Energy threatening to come back. Good luck with that. And of course, Ineos in the wings. But nothing else is likely to really happen in terms of a frack in England in 2018, with the exception of Preston New Road. So the focus absolutely needs to be on British Gas trading as Quadrilla. And just as we saw with Third Energy, which was Barclays Bank trading as Third Energy, Barclays Bank got extremely nervous about pumping more money into Third Energy, which led to them literally having to skulk away. If British Gas decide that they're not going to pump any more money into Quadrilla, this is Centrica, British Gas, one and the same, pumping money into Quadrilla, if that money source dries up, Quadrilla have no choice but probably to go the same way as Third Energy, or attempt to blag funds from elsewhere. But increasingly, that's not looking to be a particularly attractive option. So the collective negative net worth of the network of Quadrilla companies, which ultimately feed back to British Gas, is minus £10 million. Now, this is a long way short of the minus £55 million negative net worth of Third Energy, but nonetheless, a network of companies that has a negative net worth of minus 10 million, call it a hunch, but it doesn't have anything like the financial resilience to be able to proceed. So, you know, maybe in Lancashire, it's time to get the specialists in your community to really probe into the Quadrilla, the British Gas trading as Quadrilla financial accounts, and look at the Achilles heels there. And get Mark Menzies on this, get the other local MPs, the anti-fracking MPs in the area, who generally are Labour MPs, of course, but get them on the case. Because in Lancashire, you're running out of time, basically, because the well is getting very, very close to its terminal depth. And then, of course, you know, they are, at the moment, claiming to be on track to be fracking around mid-year. Now, they've still got, you know, a lot of issues to overcome, but nonetheless, you know, the time is running out, and there has never been a time like the present for the Lancashire communities to come together. You know, ignore those that are working on the controlled protests, you know, the agreed protests with Quadrilla and the agreed protests with the police, because those are just token. They are meaningless in the wider scheme of things. It's either got to be random actions, or it's got to be a focus on the administrative angle and the financial angle, which is, of course, ultimately what was the straw that broke the camel's back in North Yorkshire. So that's the message for today. It's a beautiful day down here. It hasn't been that way because there's obviously been a storm come through here, because I had to deal with some debris when I got down here. First time I've been back for a few weeks. But enjoy the day, but at the same time, give some thought to how we can actually raise awareness of these anonymous individuals, these civil servants like Tony Meggs and the likes of Philip Hammond, David Liddington and Greg Clark, and put the onus on them. If any of these individuals ultimately signs off on permission to frack, not just at Preston New Road, but anywhere else in the UK, then let's be very clear that they need to be held responsible personally for the losses to the communities where this industry has established a presence. These are the sacrifice zones. They're a long, long, long way from the constituencies of Tunbridge Wells, Runnymede and Weybridge and Aylesbury. So these are the people who are deciding that the people in the north of England, really, let's not be too concerned about them. This is collateral. It's pure collateral. Yet, on the other hand, the government is admitting that basically it hasn't done the research, it hasn't got the hard information, and therefore, really, there should be no justification for continuing with this abomination. But ultimately, it's down to all of us, because the government relies on our apathy and our willful ignorance, our non-participation. That has to change. So thanks for joining me this morning, and I will be back with you tomorrow morning at 8:30, hopefully broadcasting live on Facebook in parallel with the YouTube production. So thanks a lot. Catch you tomorrow.